All right. So, as mentioned earlier, we're going to have you focus specifically on a SQL um, database. Now, you can imagine when there are all these different databases, they could have different ways of communicating to the database, different syntaxes that you may have to learn, different data types that are supported. Again, data types will be introduced a little bit later on. But luckily, some of these people have come together and created kind of a standard and said, okay, why don't we design the standard way of communicating to these relational database, and let's call this SQL, and let's then allow someone to just write something in this generic SQL statement, and then it will work on MySQL. It will also work in Postgres. It will also work in like MariaDB, SQLite, and Microsoft SQL, and so forth. So that's very lucky for us. Otherwise, we would have had to learn a different language, database language, for all these dozens of different databases out there. Of course, if you're going with Hadoop and some of the other things, or MongoDB, the way that you communicate with those will be slightly different. But luckily, when it comes to relational databases that you will study, you can learn some of the generic SQL statements and be able to speak to all the different databases out there. Now, again, Postgres has some advantages as well as disadvantages compared to MySQL. SQLite also has an advantage and a disadvantage, but let's not have you worry too much about the pros and cons and when to use which one. And again, you can spend your lifetime kind of really studying the ins and out of those. It's too complex for the scope of this course. But for you, just know that there are some common standards that have been built, and if you learn them, you will know how to speak pretty well among all the different languages out there.